Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Bellator fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting some of the key fights for Bellator 278, Velasquez versus Carmouche. So without further ado, let's get to the first fight that I'll be predicting on this card. So in our first fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, Christian Edwards versus Grant Neal. And how I see this one right here between Edwards versus Neal is very competitive matchup right here. I just feel like Neal has more, better defensively sound. I feel like Edwards can leave himself out there a little bit. And I also feel like Neal is the better wrestler between the two, so he'll be able to control where the fight goes to the mat more often than not, or at least be able to get the better controlling position. Submission skills, I don't know who exactly has a lean towards it, but ultimately I feel like Neal has for better competition, and I feel like he has the better wrestling fundamentals, and he's a stronger man out there between the two. And I feel like this could be a very competitive fight, but I feel like Neal should be able to get a second round. No, not a second round. I'm going to say decision in this one. Close competitive fight, but Neal's wrestling and top control and also landing the heavier shots and being the one being the aggressor more often than not throughout this one will allow him to get his hand raised. Cleanly, I don't see no controversy behind this one, but in this one, I got Grant Neal via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Lugo versus Danny Sabatto. So hostage one right here. Two very bright prospects, contenders, whatever you want to call them in Bellator right now. These guys could be problems in the UFC at this given moment. I'm not saying they'll go up and jump up and be in the UFC fighting for belts. There's nothing right now. They won't. But dropping in the UFC right now, and they will be studs in the UFC. Like they'll be people to look out for rising up the ranks in the UFC. Like they will be, inching toward that top 15, top 20. And then, in some years later, they like just like with anybody else, like any hot prospect in the UFC, they'll take those years getting up to the top 15, and then they'll start climbing up that ladder and then potentially fighting for the belts and stuff. I don't know if Sabatto necessarily gonna be there, but I think Lugo, I think Jornel Lugo could go all the way. I think he could go all the way and potentially be a belt holder in the future. From what I'm saying from him, Danny Sabatto, I feel like he could be a good top tier gate guard. I don't see him being UFC champion caliber. But all that being said, Sabatto could very much win this fight at this given point. This is very much a pick 'em fight right here, but I'm going with Lugo in this one. I just feel like he's a more flushed out fighter. Sabatto, I feel like, is a better grappler, better wrestler, and that's definitely a very dangerous style. But Lugo has some pretty solid wrestling defense, and I feel like he has much more power and much more intent on his strikes on the feet. And I feel like Sabatto more so gonna try to use that reach and just touch with little pillows and stuff, and more so try to blanket and try to control him into a decision. But Lugo's gonna be able to stuff those takedowns, probably rip him to the body, rip him up top, probably chew up his legs, stuff some takedowns, and have Sabatto really looking lost when he's not having the success he wants and he can't really rely on his, go to his safe space with his wrestling and his grappling. This one, I feel like Lugo can shut down a lot of his wrestling and really just outstrike him through the course of 3 rounds and beat him to a decision. I think it's a solid decision, competitive fight, but I think Lugo, established that this is his time and he's gonna go out there and he's gonna win it, and he was the better man on the night. So in this fight, I got Jornel Lugo via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the co-main event. This card went through so quick, so quick. But in our co-main event, we have in the bantamweight division, Enrique Barzola versus Nikita Mikhailov, or Mikhailov. I'm gonna say Mikhailov. Correct me with the pronunciation later on right now, but because it's not sitting well with me right now. But yeah, Barzola versus Nikita. How I see this one right here is I'm going with Barzola on this one. I feel like Nikita has a lot of talent. He's a very young guy. We like 22, 23. Since I got so much time on this video, I'm nowhere near 10 minutes. I could just talk some more and just drag this video out a little bit more. And somebody gonna say, I hate your lisp or whatever, but yeah. I have it sometimes, I don't have it some other times, but it has a mind of its own sometimes. I don't think I have it though. I don't put no ailments on myself, no disabilities on me. But yeah, he's only 23 years old, very young guy, a lot of talent, but not really saying that's all too phenomenal. Like he's solid about everywhere. Striking, I would say he ain't the greatest striker. Typical kind of wrestling style where he wants to, really wrestle you, control you. If he can smash you, he'll smash you, but most likely he'll decision you. Really, like as far as when you look at his long game, maybe the lower end, everybody's finishing all these people because they're fighting bums, they're padding their records. And I'm not saying all his record right to this point have been bums, but like it's been standard. And he had like one pretty decent win. But all I'm saying, he has not fought the level of competition that Enrique Barzola has fought. Nikita is a solid fighter, but nothing about the wrestling super outstanding. Nothing about his striking super outstanding, but he got solid around the grappling. He's not just a wrestler. He has some grappling to his game, so he got a decent skill set. Definitely think he's a better wrestler, grappler between the two. But Enrique Barzola, just like in the last fight, he fought the former champion Darren Caldwell, who I feel is a much better wrestler than Nikita Mikhailov. Not as good of a grappler as Nikita Mikhailov, but I definitely would put Caldwell over Mikhailov any day. Pretty easy money right there. But this is not MMA math. I feel like Mikhailov has better conditioning, or at least, he lasts longer than Darren Caldwell. Darren Caldwell has a fading issue, and like I don't know, he has sometimes they little mental lapses out there. So I could trust Nikita Mikhailov to be able to stand the fight longer and be able to potentially control, be game for 3 rounds. 3 hard rounds, I feel like it could be game, but I still ultimately feel like it's gonna be a case of Enrique Barzola being the one pushing the harder pace on the feet with the striking, stuffing some takedowns, scrambling, and making Mikhailov have to fight to work the whole time and not give him a break in this fight. And I feel like if Barzola's the better striker at this given point, I think he's a better overall fighter, and I think his experience will come through. And I think it's one case where Mikhailov's a solid fighter, but he's still baby face, 22, 23 years old, and he hasn't been in these big moments, and that's going to be a guy that's going to really push him. And Barzola's going to use that experience, use that pace, and be able to wear on the younger man, and ultimately be able to outlast him, outwork him, and beat him to a decision. So in this one, I have Enrique Barzola via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the women's flyweight division, Juliana Velasquez versus Liz Carmouche. I said Carmouche. Just ignore that. Juliana Velasquez versus Liz Carmouche. I don't know why I said Carmouche. I already know who this is and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But my brain is doing jumping jacks right now. But Juliana Velasquez versus Liz Carmouche. Yeah, for the undisputed Bellator. I'm messing all these words up. For the undisputed Bellator MMA flyweight title, women's flyweight title. But yeah, Velasquez versus Carmouche, not Carmouche. How I see this one going is, I was really about to lean to Liz Carmouche on this one, but then I really looked into it a little bit more, and I was like, I'm gonna go with Juliana Velasquez. I'm gonna go with Velasquez in this one against Carmouche. I like her height, I like her reach. I'm not too happy. I'm not too high on her grappling. I'm not too high on her strike. I'm not really high on anything about Velasquez, but it's not like Carmouche has ever been the greatest striker. She's powerful. She'll get to you, bulldog you, throw you on the ground, and maul you, or just control you and just bully you. She's like that little tiny gorilla, just like her name was. She'll bully you out there. What do they call it? Vanilla gorilla or something? Something gorilla, whatever the case may be. The gorilla. By the way, she'll go out there and she'll very strong, very compact, but very short with her striking. And Velasquez is not the greatest striker either, but she does at least have some very simple stuff, very simple, simplistic, but very effective skill set. Like I said, she's far from phenomenal. I don't think anybody would be all that amazed by her in the UFC. Like, she'll probably make it to a title fight and get watched by Valentina Shevchenko like everybody else. But she's not really catching nobody's radar, and she's 35 years old. So, but having that height, having that reach, she's a counters type fighter. She's long, she works the jab and keeps people at bay. Carmouche is a shorter woman who needs to get on the inside. And Velasquez has, competed at a very high level in judo, and I think it was like a black belt judo, got some championships in judo. So she's a very high level judoka. And a lot of Carmouche's takedowns come from that same kind of body lock area where Velasquez will be strong in that area. And also Carmouche trying to get on the inside. Never been a great, blast double leg type fighter, single leg, double leg type fighter. She's never really been that. Maybe because some lower tier competition, but higher level, she's never really been great. She's been a body locker type fighter. And that's where Velasquez has been her whole life. So I feel like the takedown could be a big factor in her experience and getting her on the ground, but it's going to be a hard task, and also trying to overcome that reach. And Carmouche has never really been good at getting behind the jab. So somebody sticking the jab out from her constantly and doing check hooks and stuff, and constantly peppering with the jab, it's going to be hard for her to get on the inside. And when she does get to the inside, she might have some success, but I can't see her having that enough success, in 3 out of the 5 rounds to get her hand raised. I can see her making it kind of close. That's why I see kind of close fight, but mostly the case of this fight is going to be Velasquez peppering up with the jab. I feel like Carmouche is going to have some moments, but ultimately the telling this fight will be Velasquez dictating the fight with her jab, landing her little check hooks, probably firing 2 every now and then, and just really playing with that range and having Carmouche constantly having to overcome it, constantly having to try to cut her off, and constantly trying to find her. A lot of times just following her and walking into that jab, but still a competitive fight. And yeah, I just don't think Carmouche is going to be able to put the volume up. I don't think she'll be able to cover that range as well. I don't think she'll be able to put that pace on her, especially at 38 years old. Velasquez is no spring chicken. She's 35, but she definitely doesn't have as much mileage as Carmouche at 38, and also fighting at the highest level of MMA and UFC for a good number of years in that strike force. So she's fought the highest level in strike force, UFC, and now in Bellator. I think she's probably some other leagues as well. So that mileage, and then again on the wrong side of height, reach, and in some extent grappling wise, Velasquez grappling is a bad stylist to match up Carmouche with that judo background. So yeah, I see Velasquez, a very competitive fight, but clear Velasquez is winning in dictating the dance with her reach, with her jab, with her counters, slowing the pace down, and really forcing Carmouche to try to play her style try to overwork her style, trying to outwork her style, but I just don't see it playing through. So in this fight, I have Juliana Velasquez via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for some of the key fights for Bellator 278, Velasquez versus Carmouche. And as always, thanks for watching.